It's Press Pass with Jack Ebling, Mid-Michigan's spirited sports debate. Now let's get talking sports. Here's Jack.
Great evening, Mid-Michigan and beyond, and welcome to Press Pass here on Fox 47. It is our post-draft edition, and time to meet Team 344. Doug Warren, he is our Detroit Lions and NFL historian, and he was producer of The Drive with Jack for 7 years. Doug, they talk about 7-year itches, and everyone's getting itchy right now. What are you doing to keep busy?
Oh, listening to a lot of music, watching a lot of old football games, and I'm actually taking a lot of naps, to be honest, to kill time, so I can't lie. Getting a lot of beauty sleep. It's not helping.
Well, you could make the case that the Detroit Lions have been napping for 62 years, something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
62 seasons. See if they can change that, and we're going to talk a lot about that. Very happy to have with us Sean Bali. He is one of the most versatile voices in Michigan radio, and he is the game day host for the Detroit Lions radio network. Great stuff on WJR. How are you, Sean?
Excellent. Glad to be here. It was a busy week and a much-needed distraction, let's be honest. I think everybody needed a little bit of a distraction with this going on, and the NFL provided, that's for sure.
Do you think the fans are willing to give these guys a chance? They seem pretty excited with the collection of guys. Yeah, some people wanted Tua, Rico Beard. Other people wanted a trade. They said if they couldn't get better value, then somehow the Lions had screwed this thing up. You think people are agreeable to let's see how it all plays out?
Yeah, it was weird. I think the first day there was some back and forth about, well, why couldn't you get more value? Why couldn't you do it? I thought Miami played it wonderfully.
Yeah.
At the core of it, and I know we're going to get into this more, ask yourself this. Did you find a position where you got the guy at his position and it addressed a need? To me, that's a win every time.
Doug Warren, I think it's reasonable to expect 4 guys, the Lions' first 4 picks, everybody they took on Thursday and Friday, has a great chance to start this season, and that's the foundations of a pretty good draft. Certainly a better one than we've seen in a long time in Detroit.
Yeah, on paper, this draft looks really good, and yeah, they're going to need those top 4 picks to start and contribute from day one. I'm looking at it as we're getting ready for the show tonight. I think eventually they could have 6 guys definitively, including Cephas, that in the coming years could play major roles on this team. So the first 6 picks make a lot of sense, and I like all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, when you see a guy like Quintez Cephas and what he did in big games at the end of the year, no one's talking about him, Sean, but against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, against Oregon in the Rose Bowl, he came up big. He'll have to do that for the Lions to be better than 3-12-1. We'll be right back looking at the Lions draft up close here on Press Pass.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Caldoun. We know that COVID-19 is spreading rapidly across Michigan right now. The most important thing people can do to protect themselves is social distancing. That means unless you are a critical infrastructure worker or going out to get food or medicine for your home, you should be staying at home. Stay home, stay safe, save lives.
If your credit card debt is out of control, if you're in over your head in monthly payments, there's a secret the credit card companies don't want you to know. If you have more than $10,000 in credit card debt, you have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. That's bad news for the credit card companies, but it's great news for you. We're Credit Associates, and we're offering you free information on how to completely resolve your credit card debt with a monthly payment you can afford. To see how much you could save, call now. 1-800-922-9827. Don't declare bankruptcy. Don't consolidate. Give us 10 minutes and we could save you thousands. After all, we depend on your success and offer a guarantee so there's no risk to call. Credit Associates. Live better, debt-free. Find out how easy it is by calling now. For the secret the credit card companies don't want you to know, call Credit Associates now and see how much money you could save for free. Call 1-800-922-9827.
There's so much more I can teach you about murder.
What's really important to me is being able to have a partner, and Dart Bank has been that for me. I'm Eric Nelson. I'm a managing partner here at the English Inn. I've worked with John Morris at Dart Bank to help put together multiple projects that have assisted us with growing our business and continuing to be successful.
Woody's Oasis, your healthy alternative to fast food. Woody's has the best Mediterranean food in town. Stop and see Chuck and Delita. They'll make you feel like family. Their friendly, knowledgeable staff is always willing to help.
Hi, how are you doing today? Do you want to do the homemade bread with it, or did you want to do the thin bread as the side?
They'll be sure to put a smile on your face. And as lifelong supporters of MSU athletics, you never know who might stop by. Eat Woody's and live longer.
Coulda, shoulda, Woody's.
Woody's Oasis on Trowbridge Road, right next to campus. Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for our Law of the Jungle segment, brought to you by Woody's Oasis on Trowbridge Road, your healthy alternative to fast food. Eat Woody's and live longer. That's why I'm there every week and will be from the area's best takeout, till my favorite spot is open for dining again.
Third down and 2 at the 33. Robinson drops it off. Looking for the first. They will not get it. That's because of Kuda. Johnny on the spot.
Got a vice paying off.
Off a play action. That pass is intercepted by Jeff Okuda.
Young was getting close, and the pass is complete and fumbled. And the Buckeyes pick it up.
They stick with him. He bursts through the hole, breaks a tackle across midfield, gets a nice block down the field, and scores a touchdown.
15-yarder from Duffy. Swift totes it and attacks inside the 25. Swift is in. Touchdown.
It's pressured. Got him again. O'Quarry knocked it out. It is picked up and scooped by Adi Ogundeji. Touchdown.
Rain here, perhaps by the end of the game. Thorson, look out. Julian O'Quarry trying to chop it out of his hand. Thorson held on, but it's a sack and a big loss. Back to the 45-yard line.
Gentlemen, it was a different kind of draft for the Detroit Lions and everyone else. Virtual draft. Quinn Tricia, Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia in their lairs, trying to at least get the Lions to a place where they can be a candidate for a playoff spot. Nobody expects them to go to the Super Bowl this season, but hey, you got to take steps. From where you were with 3 wins, it's probably going to take a few years to get there. Sean, let's start with you. What did you love about this draft?
You know what I loved about this draft, Jack, is in years gone by, they made a pick and people kind of scratched their head and said, you could have had that guy in the 3rd round. You could have had that guy in the 4th round, and the Lions took him around earlier. This draft, I thought, was full of value. I think a guy like Jonah Jackson, you have to look at him. Julian Okwara is another guy. Yeah. If not for the injury, a lot of people thought early 2nd round with him. I love Quintez Cephas. It was a deep receiving class. I think they played it smart and grabbed a guy later with incredible value. And look out for Cornell in the 7th round as well. Some of my people are telling me this is a guy that could be incredible value when all's said and done.
Well, the Lions had to get an Ohio State player every day, right? That was their draft strategy. You get Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What was disappointing to you? What was the one thing you would have changed?
You know, I mean, in a perfect world, you would have loved those extra draft picks. But as we said earlier, I thought Miami played it really smart. They knew that the Lions weren't going to take a quarterback. They knew that the Giants weren't going to take a quarterback. So why try to give something up? If I want to make an argument that you could have waited to take a guy like DeAndre Swift, I could make that argument. You know, you're talking about a guy who's going to touch the ball maybe 12, 15 times a game. He's going to be a complementary piece. Was there a guy that could have helped out that porous defense at that spot? Sure, we can have that argument, but at the same time, you're taking a guy that some people thought was the best running back in the class.
To make a trade, you do have to have a trade offer, and Lions didn't have one. You can say, you know, Bob Quinn, he should have been able to hoodwink him into doing something. He's not Paul Newman on the train in the Sting, okay? He's not trying to get that done, but overall grade for the Lions draft.
It was a good draft, B. I think it B. That's safe, you know, and it could be better. When all is said and done, it could be better. If some of these players that we're talking about, and you heard Doug mention it earlier, pan out, this could be a really good-looking draft a couple years down the line.
Doug, do you think the Lions filled their primary needs, or at least a lot of them, and what letter grade would you give them?
I think they did fill their primary needs. And again, this is all on paper, so we don't know until these guys get on the field. But I think eventually, I said 6 players in the last segment. I think there could be 7 guys that could eventually, if this really pans out, be tremendous performers. I think Huntley, who they took out of New Mexico State, I think they have him penciled in immediately as a special teams contributor and return guy, but I could see him eventually moving into the slot as a starter, as early as year number 2, because I think he's that versatile of a guy. But when you get Okudah and you get DeAndre Swift, those are plug-and-play guys. Julian Okwara, tremendous player at Notre Dame, playing with his brother, so you get that, he's going to be familiar with the system and everything coming into Detroit, despite everything that's going on right now. And Jonah, Jackson, and Stenberg, I think, are guys that they eventually hope are going to be starters. Jackson from day one. Stenberg's got a lot of work to do, and he's got from what I've heard, he's a penalty machine, so he's going to have to fix that if he's going to want to stick around in the NFL.
Sean, if the Lions can go from 3-12-1 to 8-7-1 winning season, would that be enough to prevent a house cleaning in Allen Park? Would it take 9-6-1, tripling the number of wins, or do they have to get all the way to 10-5-1 and a playoff berth?
I think what's interesting about this is, if let's say they go 8, let's say they go 8-8. On one hand, you can say you improved by 5 games. On the other hand, you could say you're still a game behind where you were at 2 years ago that brought about all these changes. My guess is it's good enough for them to keep their jobs.
And I think it's good enough to be the best draft that the Lions have had in the Bob Quinn era. Maybe that's not saying a lot, but it's certainly a step in the right direction for Detroit. We'll be right back.
Here's to the big-hearted folks who know how to take on an even bigger job. Those who take personally the transportation of today's dreamers and tomorrow's leaders. It is said that the future belongs to those who show up. Thank you for making sure that we always do. Dean Transportation Professionals. Always someone to look up to.
Woody's Oasis, your healthy alternative to fast food. Woody's has the best Mediterranean food in town. Stop and see Chuck and Delita. They'll make you feel like family. Their friendly, knowledgeable staff is always willing to help.
Hi, how are you doing today? Do you want to do the homemade bread with it, or did you want to do the thin bread as the side?
They'll be sure to put a smile on your face. And as lifelong supporters of MSU athletics, you never know who might stop by. Eat Woody's and live longer.
Coulda, shoulda, Woody's.
Woody's Oasis on Trowbridge Road, right next to campus.
At Graff Chevrolet in Okemos, you'll always get a great deal on a huge selection of high-quality used cars and trucks. But you'll also get something else, peace of mind. Every Graff used vehicle purchase comes with up to 6 oil changes for the first 2 years of ownership. We'll also give you free tire rotation with every other oil change. Always a great selection of used vehicles starting from $1,000 and up. Check them out at graffokemos.com. Lower your cost of ownership with our Peace of Mind program, only at Graff Chevrolet in Okemos.
Download the Fox 47 News app and stay connected everywhere you go.
Does learning a language feel like this?
No habla español? Hablo. It's hablo? Yes. It's hablo.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
Since my husband is from Guatemala, I'll apply what I've learned in the Babbel app to our real-life situations.
The app is so easy to use and it's so practical. It helps you learn things that you will actually need.
Hoy es miércoles. Y el clima está muy bueno afuera.
Language for life. Go to Babbel.com and try for free.
No cap and gown, no ceremony, no open house. But Fox 47 is celebrating 2020 graduates with Senior Spotlight. We want to hear from our local grads.
I would like to give a shout out to the whole class of 2020. We still made it, y'all. And we made it together.
Go to fox47news.com to upload your message and we'll share with Mid-Michigan. Senior Spotlight, brought to you by Van Addis Greenhouse and Flower Shop, your year-round full-service garden center, and Holton Diamonddale Insurance Agency. Call your hometown team today.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for Tracking a Trophy, brought to you by the Ticket Machine at the corner of Mount Hope and Hagedorn. For the best in sports and entertainment ticketing, whenever those events resume, go to theticketmachine.com.
And they are up quickly. Handoff, Bright, left side. No, it's kept. And he's in. It's Jordan Love on the fake. And a touchdown for the quarterback from Bakersfield, California. No touchdowns, the one interception earlier for the sophomore Jordan Love. Batted in the air. Intercepted. It came down into the hands of the junior Joe Bocci. But the bottom line, Michigan State escapes with a 38-31 victory in week 1.
There you see highlights of the 2018 season opener. Michigan State hanging on for a 7-point win over a very good Utah State team. Brian Lewerke, Jordan Love going at it all night, and Spartans finally prevailing. Joe Bocci with an acrobatic game-saving interception at the end of the game. Doug Warren, I think you were right with me that night at Spartan Stadium.
Yeah.
What's your take of Green Bay and a controversial selection of Jordan Love? They already have Aaron Rodgers, who led the Packers to a 13-3 season last year, and a lot of people thought they were one offensive piece away.
Well, I kind of understand the need for the Packers to try to plan ahead. I mean, it worked for them last time. But like you said, you watch on Twitter and elsewhere at the Packer backers, they were upset that they didn't draft any defense because the defense got let up in the playoffs. And after Jordan Love was chosen, 4 of the next 5 players off the board were defensive players, so I could see why they're upset with that. But the fact that the Packers still have not, in the last 16 years and counting, not taken a skill player in round 1, if you're Aaron Rodgers, think about it from his point of view. That's got to be, look, guys, I know I'm good. I'm confident in myself, but do I have to elevate everybody every year? Could you get me some help? I kind of understand it both ways. But look, if Jordan Love turns out to be a bust, the Packers are going to pay for it when Aaron Rodgers is gone for the next decade or more. If he turns out to be a second coming of poor man Steve Young or something like that, then the Packers will have made a good decision, and only time will tell.
I don't know what that says about Green Bay, gentlemen, that the Packers have had the offense they have had without investing a lot of draft capital on offense. Sean, what about the Lions' NFC North opposition other than Green Bay? Minnesota, 2 first-round picks, got Justin Jefferson from LSU to replace Stephon Diggs. They sent him on to Buffalo. And Jeff Gladney, terrific cornerback from TCU, he's going to take Trey Wayne's spot, former Spartan, now with Cincinnati.
You know what's interesting? Minnesota in the last few years, I always use the term the NFL elevator. And the Vikings are a prime example of what the NFL is today. They've been up and down. They might be on the 7th floor in terms of wins, then they bounce up, then they bounce down. I thought this was a good draft for Rick Spielman. I thought, as you mentioned, replacing with needs is very important with good players as well. I think the Vikings are going to stay up there. I really do. This has been a playoff team the last couple of years. I think they're going to stay up there. The Bears, you have to shake your head at a little bit, because I think what you saw last year is unless that defense causes the inordinate amount of turnovers, that's a very mortal team. That was a very mortal Bear team last year, and I think the same is going to be said this year.
Doug Warren, let's take a look at the top half of round 1. Teams 1 through 16. Who are the best and worst picks among those 16?
Best pick, Arizona at 8. I think Isaiah Simmons, in my opinion, was the second best player in this draft after Burrow. Yeah. For them to get him at 8 was great. Other great picks, I think Andrew Thomas with the Giants, he's going to be a guy who maybe of all these guys have the longest and most successful career being an offensive tackle. Justin Herbert, not a big fan. The Chargers picking him. I was never impressed with him, and anybody who saw the Red Box Bowl with Oregon against Michigan State could see why I feel that way, but I saw a lot of football from him. He reminds me a lot of Josh Rosen, and not in a good way.
We could get to the bottom half of the draft, but we're going to pass on that for right now. And when we get back, we're going to talk about Michigan State. We're going to talk about the Big Ten. We're going to start with Josiah Scott and Kenny Willekes and all the free agent Spartans who have signed.
At the David Chapman Agency, it's our knowledge and expertise that make insuring home, auto, and farm easy for you. Experience the benefit of a local agent who cares about you with the David Chapman Agency and Auto Owners Insurance. Visit davidchapmanagency.com.
They're trying to keep their doors open to serve you.
Red Cedar Spirits is open. Pick up our all-natural house-made hand sanitizer and grab a uniquely crafted spirit from one of Michigan's largest and oldest distilleries. Open Tuesday through Sunday, 2 to 6 p.m. Located at 2000 Merritt Road in East Lansing.
For more restaurants offering takeout or delivery, go to fox47news.com/open. We're Open Mid-Michigan is supported by Modern Woodmen of America, touching lives, securing futures.
Get your first look at the weather that's heading our way with the Weather Satellite Radar on Fox 47 News.
Sponsored by Winter World of Lansing.
Right along with Chicago PD, weeknights at 6 on My 47.
It's the Luke Skywalker Land Speeder giveaway, only on Fox 47.
Here's to the big-hearted folks who know how to take on an even bigger job. Those who take personally the transportation of today's dreamers and tomorrow's leaders. It is said that the future belongs to those who show up. Thank you for making sure that we always do. Dean Transportation Professionals. Always someone to look up to.
Anyone who's had our chicken knows it's plump and juicy. What they may not know is that it's also 100% natural.
All our chickens are certified, humanely raised, no antibiotics, on a high-quality diet of soy and grain.
Why are they called tenders?
They're called tenders because they come from the tenderloin of the breast, hand-trimmed just for colors. It's not a strip or a finger, it is the true tenderloin.
I'll put our chicken tenders up against anybody's.
That's like my Granny Franklin used to make. That's outstanding, Craig.
Welcome to Delicious.
What's really important to me is being able to have a partner, and Dart Bank has been that for me. I'm Eric Nelson. I'm a managing partner here at the English Inn. I've worked with John Morris at Dart Bank to help put together multiple projects that have assisted us with growing our business and continuing to be successful.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for our Going Green segment, brought to you by Graf Chevrolet and Graf Nissan on West Grand River in Oakland. 106 years in the automobile business, they'll take great care of you. They have on all 7 of my leases and purchases. For terrific service on a new or used vehicle when the time is right, go green, go Graf.
You went from a walk-on to becoming a 2-time All-American to now becoming a Minnesota Viking. Explain the hard work that went into getting you to this point in your career.
It was definitely a long road, a lot of hard work. A lot of people that helped me get to the point I am. My dad instilled in me hard work from a very young age. Both of my parents, they preached that to me, just consistent hard work every day. Everything you put your name on, give it all you got. So that's what I've been able to do. And, now I got the opportunity to play in the NFL for the Vikings.
Well, you already know there's a fellow Michigan State alum on the Vikings roster thus far, QB1 Kirk Cousins. How excited are you just to, join the roster? I know a lot of the guys will be hitting you up here soon.
Yeah, I'm definitely very excited. Kirk Cousins, he's a Michigan State legend. I had the opportunity to go to his football camp when I was in high school, 7-on-7 over at Holland Christian. He's a legend among our parts, and he's a legend of Michigan State. So, it's pretty cool to have the opportunity to play with him.
Gentlemen, we knew that the Jacksonville Jaguars were in need of a cornerback after dealing Jalen Ramsey. And it looks like a great opportunity for Josiah Scott to come in there, and he was the first Spartan off the board. Sean, what about Kenny Willekes and his chances to stick as an edge rusher with the Vikings? At least he knows that Kirk Cousins is there to make sure he's well fed.
It's interesting. I'll go back to the Tulsa game, and we were leaving the Tulsa game, and I remember running into some Tulsa fans, and a Tulsa fan said, boy, that Willekes guy was all over the place. And I said, Willekes, remember that name. And I think he's going to show that in the National Football League. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Anybody that watched him, if you're in this audience, you're very familiar with this game. This kid's a player. He made plays, given the opportunity, and that's what Minnesota did. Give him an opportunity. He's going to make plays. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Doug Warren, let's take a look at the Spartans' free agent signees. And I can make a case here that maybe 6 of these guys, at least 5, would have a chance to stick. Don't normally say that about free agents, but this league is changing.
Yeah.
Last year, 65% of the players on rosters were either picked the last day or were undrafted free agents.
No, I agree with you. I think Bocce, Raekwon Williams, among a couple. I mean, I've been saying, this over a year and a half. I thought Raekwon would be the first Spartan off the board in this draft. Didn't turn out that way, but I think he's in a great position. Bocce, I'm really shocked he didn't get drafted. I don't know what the deal was with that. I don't know what the Saints linebacking situation is, but I'd be very surprised if he did not was not going to be on the field this year for them. And the Spartans, they have a pretty good group of guys there that were kind of flowing under the radar. And Willikis reminds me of Max Crosby, who was just tremendous in his rookie season with the Raiders. I think it's going to be the Vikings are going to have that kind of a player with Willikis in the purple.
Sean Bali, Michigan State has had 37 players, number 1 picks in either the NFL or the old AFL draft. Haven't had one in a while. You have to go back to 2016 and Jack Conklin. So it's been 4 years without one. But Michigan State keeping its record intact of consecutive years with the player picked, now at 80, and that's a mark that's matched only by Michigan and USC.
I mean, that's unbelievable when you think about it, especially, we have the annual, let's all bow to the SEC and talk about what the SEC is doing. But to have that kind of tradition, when you take a look at some of the guys that they've been able to pump out, I think that's the other thing that jumps out to you. This isn't just, in many cases, run-of-the-mill guys. I mean, these are guys that have had tremendous National Football League careers. And it goes to show you, again, something that I think, Jack, I know I've told you this. A national writer told me 20 years ago, Michigan State is a sleeping giant. If the right guy goes in there, you're going to find it. And we found that out, and certainly Coach Tucker looking to bring that back.
You guys have voted for the Heisman Trophy. Doug, you watch as much college football as anyone. Any idea, speculation of who Michigan State's next first-rounder might be?
Off the top of my head, I would say Jalen Naylor would be the next one. But I think I'll give you a sleeping giant, depending on what this new staff does with him, is Kevin Jarvis. He's got the body, he's got the makeup, just needs to be coached up. I think he could possibly be a first-rounder if he develops like he should. But Naylor has all the skills, and I think he'd be the guy that I would put my money on to be the next first-rounder for MSU.
Okay. Is it possible, guys, that the next first-rounder from Michigan State isn't on campus yet? Someone that is being recruited now by Mel Tucker?
Well, you know what? It is, because if what we're hearing about Mel Tucker is correct and he's going to bring in the studs, you very well could be right.
Yeah, been a long time for Michigan State, the first night of the draft since Jack Conklin went to Tennessee. When we get back, we're going to take a look at the Big Ten, and Ohio State dominant in the first round of the draft, but there was another team that did very, very well on Saturday. We're going to take a look at that, and we're going to take a look on exactly what does that mean when you have a lot of players drafted and you don't win anything. What does that mean? We'll take a look at that and the big picture up next. We'll continue our draft show here on Press Pass.
The Ticket Machine is your local connection to concert, theater, and sporting event tickets nationwide. Our entertainment experts are ready to help you create a memorable experience, trusted by fans for more than 20 years. Whether you're looking for tickets for your corporate outing, family excursion, or vacation, we offer the best seats and the best prices. Grab a front row seat now on theticketmachine.com.
What's really important to me is being able to have a partner, and Dart Bank has been that for me. I'm Eric Nelson. I'm a managing partner here at the English Inn. I've worked with John Morris at Dart Bank to help put together multiple projects that have assisted us with growing our business and continuing to be successful.
The Student Bookstores are Green and White Shop headquarters. Outfit your entire family with Spartan gear. We have a large selection of men's, women's, and children's clothing. Show off your Michigan State pride with new shoes, socks, hats, and more. Have your tailgate ready with MSU party supplies, car accessories, and dress your pet in green and white. We have gifts for students, grads, alumni, and fans. From Vera Bradley and Dooney and Burke to diploma frames and more. Always shop SBS for the biggest and best selection of green and white. Go green, go white, go SBS.
911, all new Monday on Fox. If your credit card debt is out of control, if you're in over your head in monthly payments, There's a secret the credit card companies don't want you to know. If you have more than $10,000 in credit card debt, you have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. That's bad news for the credit card companies, but it's great news for you. We're Credit Associates, and we're offering you free information on how to completely resolve your credit card debt with a monthly payment you can afford. To see how much you could save, call now. 1-800-922-9827. Don't declare bankruptcy. Don't consolidate. Give us 10 minutes and we could save you thousands. After all, we depend on your success and offer a guarantee so there's no risk to call. Credit Associates. Live better, debt-free. Find out how easy it is by calling now. For the secret the credit card companies don't want you to know, call Credit Associates now and see how much money you could save for free. Call 1-800-922-9827.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. It's time for The Big Picture, brought to you by Dean Transportation. Dean is hiring caring and dependable people as school bus drivers in many Michigan markets. Be a hero in your community and safely transport children to and from school with Dean. For more information and to apply, visit deantransportation.com/jobs. That's deantransportation.com/jobs.
With the 24th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Cesar Ruiz, center, Michigan.
So there you see the very emotional reaction from Cesar Ruiz. He said a few years ago he was born to play center, and while that is his preference, he would do whatever is needed. And he is going through this draft process with a very, very heavy heart. Who you don't see in the picture there, Cesar Ruiz, is his father, Cesar Edwin Ruiz. 31 career starts at Michigan. He's dedicated his career to his father, who in December of 21 pulled over on the side of a road, Route 55 in South Jersey, to help another car whose driver was trying to change a flat tire. He was then struck and killed by a driver who reportedly fled the scene of the accident. His father was 26 at the time. Ruiz was only 8 years old, and he said he knows his father would one day be proud of the man he is today. And that's why the reaction is there for Cesar Ruiz going to the New Orleans Saints, the emotion hitting him. This is some of the best part of what makes the draft the draft.
Great piece there by ESPN's Trey Wingo, and hats off to Cesar Ruiz, both of them. Big Ten had a total of 44 players picked. 11 of the 14 teams were represented in the draft, but I want to take a look at just Thursday, just the first round of the draft. And the 5 players, of course, Chase Young and Jeff Okudah, back-to-back Buckeyes. Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, big offensive tackle, and Tampa Bay traded up to get him another bodyguard for Tom Brady. Damon Arnett of Ohio State, picked by the Raiders. I was a little puzzled by that, but I usually am by the Raiders' picks. And Cesar Ruiz going to the Saints, who had just drafted a center early, but they have a lot of flexibility with those 2 players. Doug, as you look at those 5, aside from Young and Okudah, which of the other 3 most likely to make a Pro Bowl?
I think the guy we saw in the video, Cesar Ruiz, I think he's a great player and a great team leader at Michigan. And people don't think a lot about offensive linemen. They kind of fly under the radar, but this guy was solid. As you saw there in the graphic, 26 starts at center. And I think that he's in a great situation with the Saints, whether he's snapping the ball to Drew Brees or maybe in a few years, Jameis Winston.
Sean, I want to take a long look at the number of drafted players for the 8 programs that had winning records in the Big Ten last season. And there you see Ohio State, of course, dominated on Thursday. But the team that owns Saturday, the Michigan Wolverines, 8 players taken in rounds 4 through 7. What does that mean?
Well, you know what? It means that we're making progress with our friends in Ann Arbor. And what I mean by that is this. Now you can't use the excuse any longer that you don't have a full cupboard. I mean, I think in years gone by, all jokes aside, we got to hear from people how glorious this next recruiting class was from February until they didn't live up to expectations. Now those excuses have gone away. I think every Michigan fan out there has to admit that the ante has been up. You've brought in the body, so what's the problem? Why can't you get on top? That has to be talked about in Ann Arbor.
Doug Warren, for the second time in 4 years, Michigan had more players picked than victories the season before, tying for the second most players drafted. When you look at that, why can't Michigan get double-digit wins if it keeps putting players in the pros?
Well, I think the number one reason is Ohio State Buckeyes. Until they can beat them, it's 10 wins is going to be tough. The other thing, I think there's a couple of things.
They've also lost 4 straight bowl games.
True, and that was Don Brown's defenses when they get into a situation in a bowl game or whatever it is against a high-powered team, his defenses tend to get exposed. They've gotten exposed against Ohio State, quite frankly. The other thing is, and I think towards the end of last season they started to correct this, the offense for Jim Harbaugh was archaic. It seems to be moving into the 21st century now. If they can find a quarterback that is a first-round caliber, like you think Michigan would be able to do, I think they could correct that in the next few years. But they got talent. There's no question about it. We've always known that.
Sean, when you think about having 11 players in one draft, 10 a couple years later, would you like to see what Kirk Ferentz or a Paul Chryst could do if they had double-digit draftees?
Oh, it'd be unbelievable. I mean, there's the running joke anyway. We're overdue for the next Ferentz. Doesn't it seem like every 3 or 4 years he has a team that's really, really threatening to win the Big Ten? So we're overdue for what I call the Ferentz. But you're absolutely right. You have talent like that. I'd be really, really intrigued to see. I mean, look, Hayden had that run during the 80s. Could something like that come back? I think it might.
When we get back, we're going to look at recruiting. We're going to look at Michigan State football, some players coming into the program to play for Mel Tucker, but also Tom Izzo, not to be outdone, an important signee this week. We'll be right back.
Go for Captain Nash.
Captain, we still have someone in critical condition on the 10th floor.
Let's go, we gotta go!
LAFD, anybody here?
His BP's bottoming out. We're 7 minutes out, he's got half of that.
Want to cut him open in a moving ambulance? It's a job for a surgeon. Hen! No!
911, all new, Monday at 8/7 Central on Fox.
Does learning a language feel like this?
No habla español? Hablo. It's hablo? Yes. It's hablo.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
Since my husband is from Guatemala, I'll apply what I've learned in the Babbel app to our real-life situations.
The app is so easy to use and it's so practical. It helps you learn things that you will actually need.
Hoy es miércoles. Y el clima está muy bueno afuera.
Language for life. Go to Babbel.com and try for free.
Join football's Want Brothers for the game of Ultimate Tag Wednesday, May 20th on Fox.
So, I got my start in officiating when a friend told me I should try it. At first, I just did basketball, and I got hooked. Before long, I added baseball, softball, football, and volleyball. I really enjoy giving back to the game, working with kids, and working with my local association to recruit and train new officials. I would like to say to anybody that officiating is a great way to help kids and stay connected to the game. We always need new officials. There's help wanted, just listen.
At Graff Chevrolet in Okemos, you'll always get a great deal on a huge selection of high-quality used cars and trucks. But you'll also get something else, peace of mind. Every Graff used vehicle purchase comes with up to 6 oil changes for the first 2 years of ownership. We'll also give you free tire rotation with every other oil change. Always a great selection of used vehicles starting from $1,000 and up. Check them out at graffokemus.com. Lower your cost of ownership with our Peace of Mind program, only at Graff Chevrolet in Okemos.
Here's to the big-hearted folks who know how to take on an even bigger job. Those who take personally the transportation of today's dreamers and tomorrow's leaders. It is said that the future belongs to those who show up. Thank you for making sure that we always do. Dean Transportation Professionals. Always someone to look up to.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Another Going Green segment brought to you by Graf Chevrolet, Graf Nissan, West Grand River, and Okemos. 106 years in the automobile business. They'll take great care of you as they have on all 7 of my leases and purchases. Go green, go Graf.
What's up, y'all? Let's see what we got to make of, man. Since to see you, Jim. Make good Detroit basketball. Let's go. I'll be attending Michigan State University. Spartan doors, baby!
Drop off the bag and I pick it up. If you want me to do it, then it's up to you. Stay in the house, I ain't going to no clean this. You need in taking pain with the drug. Ain't no love in my heart. I woke up with a mother. Get them knocked up with my brother. Right like a body, they fall. I don't like how they rock, I'ma move them around. That's when they take it boy at the house and take it by the people. Challenge and really don't know. How the f did they find a nigga who thuggin', who coming straight up out the bayou? I ain't ready to them niggas. Please show me your Whitney. Should get out your body. Young kid, I love you. Me like a mother. This thing can't say that I forever got you. On a long road, long road. I ain't trying to find my way home.
There you see Pierre Brooks Jr. from Detroit Douglas. It's been a very busy month for Mel Tucker, I think as busy as any recruiting month in the spring Michigan State has had, but we'll get there in a minute. Tom Izzo, not to be outdone, signing a guy that he really wanted to land. Sean Bali, what does it mean when you have a guy who is a knockdown shooter from deep, who's also a 4.1 student, decides to stay home where he's wanted to play since 8th grade?
You know what? I never get tired of watching those videos either, especially when they end like that one did. But no, all jokes aside, it goes to show you Tom Izzo still has that calling card. Not that we needed to be reminded, but it's a nice reminder as well. By all accounts, this kid is a great kid. I think his tape speaks for itself. Jack, another coup for Tom Izzo.
And instead of having all the hats and all the drama that you see, when they asked Pierre Brooks, where do you want to do this? He said, St. Cecilia. Let's
go.
That's the Mecca, right?
Love those
This is
videos.
where his dad wanted to go to school. And frankly, he wasn't good enough to be recruited at Michigan State. But he never forgot that dream, and now here is his son. Doug, for Mel Tucker, the news last night, just after the draft ended, that maybe a quarterback of the future, Hampton Fay, 6'5" out of Texas, had a torn labrum last year, but still had monster numbers in the 3 games he played. Might have been a good thing for Michigan State they didn't play the whole season, or he would have had 60 scholarship offers.
Yeah, without question. I think recruiting and player development the last few years of Michigan State has dropped off. We know that. We've documented that extensively here and elsewhere. The fact that this staff is incoming and they're recruiting like they are already, with all the restrictions in place and the uncharted waters, so to speak, the fact that this is a good sign that they're getting these types of players, and if they can develop them, then I think Michigan State will have a quick turnaround. In 2 or 3 years, could be back to where they were with Mark D'Antonio, literally competing for the Big Ten East Championship and giving Ohio State a little bit more than just a bump in the road.
Doug, besides the arm that you see in these highlights, he also runs sprints for the track team at 6'5", and he's a 3.8 student, so I don't think you're going to have to worry about eligibility.
No, if Michigan State can recruit Texas, Ohio, grab a guy or two from Florida, I think they're going to be fine in the long run. We know the history with Ohio recruits, but if they could start tapping into Texas, that'll be great for this program.
Going to be getting into New Jersey, I understand, very soon. They're reaching out, talking to top players in Louisiana. This has got to be just a complete culture shock for the Michigan State program. Sean, if you look at all these pledges to Team Tucker and you see the heights of these guys, it's tough to tell if this is a football class or a basketball list. What does that say?
Well, first of all, I think it's a beautiful thing. Mel Tucker is coming in and doing what we heard about. You can only hear about something so much before you have to experience it for yourself. And some of these names out there, especially taking a chance on a kid, like you said, Jack, that would have been recruited by everybody, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. And then you know what that does? That tells some of the other kids, hey, Michigan State's willing to take a chance on us. And again, Mel Tucker has that reputation. He's proven it so far.
Some of the linemen, I mean, you talk about Ethan Boyd at East Lansing, Tyson Watson, W-A-T-S-O-N, and you see these guys who are, 6'7", 6'6", 6'5". They're going to fill out. They're going to be guys who, what they're weighing now, if they're 285 now, they're going to be legitimate 315-pound guys.
And you know what? That's all the battle, because you don't have to use that 2-3 years to get them up to 275, to get them up to 280. That's your starting point. That's big boy talk.
Well, we saw last year when Michigan State went into Columbus and Madison back-to-back weekends, and we saw what happens with the big boys, and eventually you lose, you don't have a chance. We'll be right back with more here on Press Pass.
Together, we can do this. Our spirit is what unites us. It is what bonds us and reminds us we are all one. Which is why if you need a vehicle during this time, we are offering 0% financing for 84 months with no payments for 90 days. And the ability to shop and buy from the safety of your home. Better days are ahead, and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram will help you drive forward. Together, we can do this. Our spirit is what unites us. It is what bonds us and reminds us we are all one. Which is why if you need a vehicle during this time, we are offering 0% financing for 84 months with no payments for 90 days. And the ability to shop and buy from the safety of your home. Better days are ahead, and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram will help you drive forward.
The 3-Degree Guarantee, only on Fox 47 News.
The Student Bookstore is your green and white shop headquarters. Outfit your entire family with Spartan gear. We have a large selection of men's, women's, and children's clothing. Show off your Michigan State pride with new shoes, socks, hats, and more. Have your tailgate ready with MSU party supplies, car accessories, and dress your pet in green and white. We have gifts for students, grads, alumni, and fans. From Vera Bradley and Dooney and Burke to diploma frames and more. Always shop SBS for the biggest and best selection of green and white. Go green, go white, go SBS.
At Graff Chevrolet in Okemos, you'll always get a great deal on a huge selection of high-quality used cars and trucks. But you'll also get something else, peace of mind. Every Graff used vehicle purchase comes with up to 6 oil changes for the first 2 years of ownership. We'll also give you free tire rotation with every other oil change. Always a great selection of used vehicles starting from $1,000 and up. Check them out at graffokemus.com. Lower your cost of ownership with our Peace of Mind program, only at Graff Chevrolet in Okemos.
What's really important to me is being able to have a partner, and Dart Bank has been that for me. I'm Eric Nelson. I'm a managing partner here at the English Inn. I've worked with John Morris at Dart Bank to help put together multiple projects that have assisted us with growing our business and continuing to be successful.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for our Take It to the Bank segment, brought to you by Dart Bank, dedicated to meeting the needs of our banking community for more than 90 years, with 4 convenient locations in Mason, Holton, South Lansing, Grand Ledge, and the expanded Home Loan Center in Frandor. That's Dart Bank, for what matters most.
Go ahead. Oh my goodness. We got a red carpet.
There you see a different way to celebrate the first round of the draft. Who needs Roger Goodell? Tristan Wirfs has his mom there and rolls out the red carpet for her, surprises her, hands her a bouquet of flowers. Classy move, Mr. Wirfs. Sean, do you expect to see football this fall, pro football, college football, both, neither, and will there be fans in the stands?
I think the NFL will have football. I think part of the season there may not be fans in the stand. Jack, I'm not so sure about college football. I think there's going to be a delay.
Yeah.
I think it might be a shorter season, something like that. But the NFL, too much arrogance. I think we saw that in play over the weekend. I have a feeling that there'll be a full NFL season.
Doug Warren, since some governors view this pandemic differently than others, could you see some conferences saying, we're going to do this, we don't care about the other leagues? Maybe even teams within a league have a different policy. And would you guess that some players will say thanks, but no thanks?
I think we'll have a little bit of all of that, to be honest. The SEC, if I was to say, they're probably going to find a way to play football in some way, shape, or form this fall. With regard to the ACC, you have a school like Duke who said we're not doing anything no matter what. So, I mean, you could have some outliers like that, and there may be players who maybe are because of family members who maybe are at risk or something like that, they're not going to want to play. They're going to want to take some time off and do a redshirt year or something like that. This is all uncharted waters, so we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But the thing to remember, college football, the revenue generated by college football drives all of college sports. So that, at the end of the day, is going to be the biggest determining factor, I think, in whether we see football this fall or anytime soon.
Extremely difficult to think about collegiate budgets without football. But Sean, I'm hearing more and more speculation that we could have a delay, hoping that there's a vaccine, but something that might start around April 1st, could finish on June 12th, a 10-game season, hoping that would work. Are you ready for a USFL-style season for college football?
I've been waiting 40 years for the USFL to come back. And, for the youngsters out there, go watch the USFL. It's on YouTube. It was unbelievable. It really was. Those first couple of years, it was incredible. No, as Doug was just saying, they have to get it in. I mean, really, they do. Even if it's a smaller schedule, as you suggested, the money is too important to college programs all over the nation. I don't have any problem with it in any way, shape, or form. College football has gotten so big. Will there be a big spot on our plate this fall? Yes, there will be. It'll be missing. But we can put an extra heaping on next spring, and that's not a bad thing.
Doug, what about pro football? Would you expect that the NFL is going to somehow have football in the fall, even if they don't have fans in the stands?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it didn't happen, especially with what they honestly pulled off this past weekend with the draft. It was something that I think exceeded everybody's expectations, and that'll just push them along to try to get football some way, shape, or form by September.
What about a Super Bowl? Could you imagine a Super Bowl with nobody there and everything that goes into that from the marketing standpoint? What a gigantic event that is for the NFL. Might be interesting to see college and pro football. I've even heard that if college goes to the spring, they could have Saturday games and Sunday games. They could take over that window. That'd be lots to be talked about. Could have basketball and football back-to-back, go right from the Final Four into the start of college football. We'll be right back with our final segment, Cool and Smooth Weekly Awards, up next.
At Graf Chevrolet in Okemos, you'll always get a great deal on a huge selection of high-quality used cars and trucks. But you'll also get something else. Peace of mind. Every Graf used vehicle purchase comes with up to 6 oil changes for the first 2 years of ownership. We'll also give you free tire rotation with every other oil change. Always a great selection of used vehicles starting from $1,000 and up. Check them out at grafokemos.com. Lower your cost of ownership with our Peace of Mind program, only at Graf Chevrolet in Okemos.
Here's to the big-hearted folks who know how to take on an even bigger job. Those who take personally the transportation of today's dreamers and tomorrow's leaders. It is said that the future belongs to those who show up. Thank you for making sure that we always do. Dean Transportation Professionals. Always someone to look up to.
You're up. There's an old saying, you can never have too many officials. The age of the average official is 52 and getting older all the time. We're constantly recruiting new people, younger people to join us. After you register with the MHSAA, look on the website to find an officials association near you. They'll put you in a position to succeed as an official. We all learned a lot from high school sports, and officiating is a great way to give back to the game. There's help wanted. Just whistle.
This bell will ring again. These seats will be full. Our children will play together and we'll have dinner with friends. We'll hear the laughter and feel the energy of a Friday night. We'll be back, stronger than ever. And Fox 47 is here to help with the rebound, Mid-Michigan. Everything you need to get back on track during these difficult times. From financial recovery to putting food on your table and more, all in one convenient place. Visit fox47news.com/rebound to get started.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. Time for our Cool and Smooth segment, brought to you by the 5 Culver's locations in mid-Michigan. Since 1984, Culver's has been delighting guests one meal at a time with scrumptious Butterburgers and premium frozen custard. Swing through any Culver's drive-thru and grab your fresh favorites. That's Culver's. Welcome to delicious.
Here's a letter that I received that just sums it up. Dear Mr. Cuomo, I seriously doubt that you will ever read this letter, as I know you are busy beyond belief with the disaster that has befallen our country. We are a nation in crisis. Of that, there is no doubt. I am a retired farmer hunkered down in northeast Kansas with my wife, who has but one lung and occasional problems with her remaining lung. She also has diabetes. We are in our 70s now, and frankly, I am afraid for her. Enclosed, find a solitary N95 mask left over from my farming days. It has never been used. If you could, would you please give this mask to a nurse or doctor in your state? I have kept 4 masks for my immediate family. Please keep on doing what you do so well, which is to lead. Sincerely, Dennis and Sharon. A farmer in northeast Kansas. His wife has one lung and diabetes. He has 5 masks. He sends 1 mask to New York for a doctor or a nurse, keeps 4 masks. You want to talk about a snapshot of humanity. You have 5 masks. What do? Do you keep all 5? Do you hide the 5 masks? Do you keep them for yourselves or others? No. You send 1 mask to New York to help a nurse or a doctor. How beautiful is that?
That is New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and I can hear some of you already. I can hear you all the way through the screen saying, I thought this was a sports show. Let's not get political. I want you to understand, and if it's one thing we say more than anything else on this show, gentlemen, life is a team sport. It isn't just baseball and football. We are all better when we work together, and nowhere do we need to work together more than we do in the United States right now. All right, Team 344, who has been as cool and smooth as a Culver's mint explosion this week? Doug Warren, what do you have for a play of the week?
Play of the week is the NFL and Roger Goodell going ahead with the NFL draft. They pulled it off, something that had never been done logistically. It was amazing to see how they were able to pull it off, and no major glitches. So for them to go ahead and do this and provide some much needed relief, a record number of viewers on night 1 of the draft, and I think that was definitely the play of the week in regard to sports.
Excellent. Sean Bali, what about our team of the week? What do you have?
I'm going to piggyback on what Doug said, and it's team behind the scenes. And what I mean by that, the IT people, the floor directors, the people that right now you can't see them, but the reason we're on the air is because there are some great people working in the office to put Press Pass on the air. So team behind the scenes, well done.
How many of those remote units did ESPN and the NFL Network deploy?
Absolutely.
Not only did they have them all over the teams with every general manager, every coach, it seemed like any player you'd ever heard of had one in his living room.
It was awesome. And you know, the RV in Bob Quinn's driveway, gotta love that stuff.
Our player of the week, we talked about Cesar Ruiz, hats off to him. Brian Lewerke, congratulations, free agent contract with the Patriots. He's going to be a guest on The Drive with Jack tomorrow. Kenny Willekes, he goes from walk-on to All-American, broken leg, sets a record, and now here he is. He's got his chance with the Minnesota Vikings. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next week, everyone. Have a great week.